Hi, before we get into this interview, I would just like to offer a little bit of an update because it's been several months since Stella and I have recorded this discussion, and a lot has changed since then. So, first, I would like to mention that we are no longer working with A-List Productions for our show, and we have renamed the show and completely revamped it. It is now called Daisy Ducati Presents Dangerous, and I am producing the show. So, it's now a collective effort with all of the performers involved, and we're not doing it weekly anymore. Our next show will be in October. If you'd love more info about this show that we're working on together, you can follow our Instagram at DD Dangerous Show on Instagram. And you can also follow either of us. But yeah, this is a wonderful conversation that I'm having with Stella, and we have gotten to know each other so well over the last few months. Amazing, amazing person, performer, and I'm really excited for you guys to meet them. So let's just get right to it. Hello, and welcome to Yes, a Stripper podcast. I am your host, Daisy Ducati. In this podcast, we will discuss the ins and outs, ups and downs of our lives and experiences as sex workers. And you want to go by Stella, right? Just to
Yeah,
confirm. Okay, cool.
yes.
Um, All right, we are here with Stella, one of the amazing performers in my show, and I am so excited to have this conversation today. Stella, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So, Stella is one of the dancers that auditioned for my new show in Vegas, and by the time this episode comes out, we will already be fully running and performing, and I'm so excited for you guys to see what we've been working on. Stella is an incredible dancer, wonderful, wonderful stage presence. I cannot wait for you to see what we do. So, Stella, how did you get into dancing?
Actually, one of my friends that I used to go to raves with back in California, she was a dancer at one of our, well, the only club in our area, and she just convinced me to go in one night. And once I
Yeah.
said I had done it, she was like, "Well, you already said you'd do it, so you're not backing out now."
Oh man. How was
So,
it? Did you have fun getting into it?
um, no, to be fair, my start was actually pretty rocky. Uh, I didn't look the way that I do now then.
Yeah.
And when I first auditioned, I actually had no hair. I had completely bald head.
Oh
And
wow.
it was, yeah, fun times. It was interesting. I got a lot of shit for that. Can I cuss?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I would not be able to do this if we couldn't cuss. Oh,
My, yeah.
yeah. Oh man. So do you mind if I ask like what city you got your start in?
So Northern Santa Barbara County, I don't particularly like to say the city because it's kind
That's
of
fine.
a
Yeah.
trashy city. But basically, it's the only strip club for 2 hours any direction.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
It's probably a lot different than dancing out in Vegas, huh?
extremely different. It is two complete opposite ends of the spectrum for sure.
Totally. Totally. And how long have you been dancing?
Over 3 years now, almost four, I think,
Hell
minus the
yeah.
whole COVID like
Yeah.
spot. But yeah.
Yeah, the last couple of years have been a very strange time. So wait, you pretty much started like around the beginning of the pandemic.
In Vegas, I had
Yeah.
already been dancing for over a year at that point,
Okay.
and I basically had told myself I would try Vegas by the time I hit a year, and that's what I did. And then COVID came.
Oh
So
no. So wait, you moved to Vegas at the beginning of the pandemic to dance here, and then COVID happened.
December,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
before it was even a pandemic yet. So it wasn't like I
Yeah.
had like any idea anything was even going on yet.
Oh no. That was like the
Yeah,
worst time.
it was pretty bad.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. Yeah, I had just renewed my sheriff's card right before the lockdown. I was like planning on going back to the club, and there went those plans and that 40 bucks.
Right. I had just gotten my plastic card. I had literally like 2 weeks before the shutdown, they had just given me my plastic sheriff's card. Like,
Oh no.
yeah, it was that soon.
Oh no, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad you stuck around.
So am I. I
Because now
didn't
we
really
get
have an
to be
option at that
friends.
point. Right?
Oh man, that must have been a strange, strange time to be just moving here. I can't even imagine. Like it was a strange time to live here in general because like for those who don't know, like all of Vegas shut down completely. Like there were no casinos, no hotels, no nothing. It was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah. No
basically
gyms.
yeah, it was just you could get food maybe. Like wow.
Maybe. Even then was pretty hard too. A lot of food places were closed. A lot of places wouldn't deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the places that I used to eat are gone now because of it. It was a strange time. And so like how did you manage like just moving here?
So I actually went back to doing online work, which was like what I had done prior to dancing.
Yeah. Cool.
So it wasn't too difficult, but
Cool.
my living situation wasn't ideal either. So it was definitely hard.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like even though the pandemic was absolutely devastating in most ways and like especially for working in a club or working in any sort of work where you have to show up in a
Yeah.
physical way. But uh, if I also do a lot of online work, and it was a strangely like amazing time to do online work. Like I don't know if you're on OnlyFans and things like that, but like I feel like a lot of my online work like skyrocketed once everyone was stuck at home. Did you have that
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah, I did too. I actually wasn't even on OnlyFans at the time. I originally started as like a webcammer
Hmm.
before I started dancing. So I like wanted to go back to that, but I didn't have the internet connection where I was, or even like the setup for it. So it was like I was actually in between like a housing situation too. I was in temporary housing. I wasn't even in like an apartment or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like half of my stuff was in storage in California still, like whatever. So I ended up like breaking down and joining OnlyFans like everybody else did.
Yeah.
And it went pretty well for a little while. It got me through. But
Good.
yeah, it was weird. There's a lot of people that just kind of like came up out of the depths of nowhere, like old high school friends and people you never
Yeah.
would have thought of that are just like, oh, you're selling stuff? Like,
Yeah. It's so
oh,
strange how they
okay.
just come out of the woodwork and like I don't know, like yeah.
Yeah,
How do
it's like
you
I've known you for 5 years and then you're just gonna all of a sudden you want to spend money on, okay, cool, great.
yeah, I mean take
Can't
the money.
complain. Sure, why not?
Oh man. So I'm so glad that like even though OnlyFans has its ups and downs as a platform, like I'm so glad that platform was there at that time. Like so many of us
Yeah,
would have struggled a lot harder without it. Um,
yeah, for sure.
it was yeah. And I'm glad they haven't kicked us off yet.
They have tried. They have tried.
Oh man, it's been such an uphill battle with just all of the online platforms, especially with like the payment processor changes and all that. It's so volatile.
Even going through Reddit, because like I'm big on like the online stuff, and like
Hmm.
I know how to use Reddit, and so I was like, well, let me check, let me try the Reddit route and go that way,
Hmm.
so I don't have to be doing this like weekly content stuff, and I can just get like some bigger, I guess, I sales or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And even doing that, like it's so overly flooded. Like it takes like an hour just to like get approved to post on a subreddit in order to try to sell your stuff. Because if one thing is wrong or your picture, like proof of like existence is off or like doesn't come through clear, they're like, nope, nope, you're not real. Like I typed something wrong and I can't
Yeah.
post this now.
Yeah, the Reddit hustle has been something that I have had a very hard time contending with.
It's
Like
it's hard.
each each subreddit has its own rules, and then it's like up to individual moderators who can sometimes be really moody. And like
Yeah.
it's it's such a strange world on Reddit, like, and it's so much different than any other platform that I've used anyway. I just I've been kicked off of so many subreddits too. Like
I think at this point,
I recently got banned off the weed subreddits. Like, how do you get kicked off the weed subreddit?
that's hard to do.
Apparently
That's
not.
really hard to
I,
do.
I posted a picture of a really pretty doobie I rolled. Like it was, I had these cones that had like tentacles drawn on them, and like I just thought it was pretty, and it was literally just a picture of my hand holding the doobie, and I guess they thought I was advertising something because I posted from my Daisy Ducati account, and I was like actually
Uh,
genuinely excited to share this cool looking doobie.
you're like, no, just like look at the weed.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not selling anything. I don't sell these. I actually bought these.
Like I spent money on this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Reddit is such a
They're wild.
strange universe. Like, and it's a really good resource for sex workers, but at the same time, like, there's so much to navigate. It's,
Yeah, it's almost too much. Like I've had to like step back from it for a while now because it's just like it's a lot to like weed through and like the amount of fakes and scammers and shit that try and like get
hmm
you for shit. It's not even worth the time right now. It's
and
I
like,
just use it to like advertise. I just leave my account up. I haven't
mhm,
posted in probably like 6 months on any subreddits and like it's just
yeah,
sitting there and I still get followers like every week.
hmm
It's like
hmm
cool.
And I feel like on Reddit you also get a lot of people that just want to talk for free and like don't acknowledge
Yeah.
that you're posting in like a sex worker subreddit specifically advertising something for sale. And they're like, "Hey, you're really pretty. Can we be friends?" It's like, "No, that's not why I'm here."
Yeah. But also like if you found me in this subreddit, why are you even in this subreddit?
Right.
Like it says in
Right.
the title what this is for. Go to a different page.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you're specifically responding to an ad.
Yeah. Like on an advertising page.
Yeah,
I don't get the logic.
it's a strange world, but I'm glad it exists because it can be lucrative if you are
It
willing to
can.
put up with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely got its winners in there too. Just few and far between.
Yeah. So what else do you get into?
So I'm a bodybuilder as
Hot.
well as yeah, and then I also am starting burlesque currently.
Yes. Yes.
So that's my first official show. So
Yay.
aside from our show that we're doing, which I guess is burlesque still too.
Yeah, it's a kind of burlesque. I would
Yeah,
definitely.
it's in the title.
Yeah. So tell me about your other show.
So it's just like at a local club. There's a group of burlesque girls just at one of the local gay bars here that it's
Fun.
really fun to go to. Yeah, right. And they host it like once a month. They do
Cool.
a burlesque show and then they go to other clubs around town and stuff and do other shows. So I got the opportunity to do one and I'm currently putting my act together. I have to go costume shopping this week. So
That's
it's like
exciting.
the hardest part for me with anything is costumes.
Yeah, yeah, I know we've been going back and forth about costume show too. It's fun, but it can be challenging to like get it just right.
It's stressful for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to find.
So bodybuilding, do you bodybuild competitively or is it like for fun?
So I do it competitively. It's NPC and IFBB are the divisions. The NPC is like the amateur division, and the IFBB is the pro division. Um, I've been doing it for like 3 or 4 years now. I started right before I started dancing, and
Cool.
it, yeah, it's really, really fun. We do, there's different divisions and like categories, divisions, whatever you want to call them. And basically, they're different body types. So it's
Hmm.
not all just like one body type, but it's just another type of entertaining performance for me. Um,
Yeah.
my category gets on stage and does this crazy 2-minute acrobatic dance routine, and it's really
What?
cool. We only have 4 mandatory moves, and so it's like the 4 moves are like some of the simplest things in the world to do for us because we're doing this shit daily. But it's like, but you have 2 minutes to do it, and you have to impress us, and you have to wear a costume, and you have to get the crowd's attention, and it has to be this big deal on top of all of the other stuff that you're already doing that all the other bodybuilders are already doing too.
Wow. So that's a little
So
more sport than I was imagining. Like my understanding of bodybuilding is you're getting into a certain form to present on stage. So
yeah,
adding like an act into it is interesting.
yeah. So, I mean, when you think of bodybuilding, most people, everyone knows Arnold, of
Hmm.
course. Everyone thinks Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's one of the most infamous names.
Yes.
But he definitely changed the industry as a whole too. But it's funny because everybody thinks that it's just about like getting all tan and posing like an ego lifter and shit. And it's like it's not, like it's just another form of art like dancing or any other type of art that you can do. Like you're specifically crafting your body to look a specific way, which
Hmm.
means overdoing or underdoing something can have such a huge effect on the turnout.
Hmm.
And then you're also on this like crazy diet where you're controlled and trying to work all of these like factors basically. So it's just a giant science project. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let's make it more difficult and let's do the one where they want us to like try and do push-ups and everything else while we're like completely starving ourselves and like in this like terribly depleted state. It's like, let's do the hardest possible category that I can, because
So
why not?
like what does this entail? Like what kind of performance is expected of you?
So it's so the like the 4 moves basically are a push up, a straddle hold, which is just like the arm holds, a high kick, and just like a basic split.
Okay.
So really, what they want to see is they want to see your creativity, they want to see your entertainment value, they want to see, you know, the show aspect of it because it is still like a show. Like even the
Yeah.
posing routines, it's still a show. There's a certain way that you walk, there's a certain way that you talk, there's a certain way that you move. And so this really kind of like pulls that to a higher level. And they want to
Hmm.
see basically how loud can you get this crowd going?
Yeah.
Like how much entertainment value can you bring to the stage? How much interaction can you get out of the audience? Because it's a small audience, and a lot of the times you're not performing in more than like 20, 30 people at like beginner levels,
Yeah.
sometimes anywhere from like 100 to 10,000 when you move up. And it's like you're the only person on stage. So it's like you have 2 minutes on this stage to do this routine. And they compare it kind of to like rhythmic gymnastics, like you see in the
Hmm.
Olympics, where they have these like dance routines or whatever, but it's a lot more theatrical. So there's costumes, there's props, there's
Cool.
flashing lights. Some girls have smoke grenades and shit that they use.
Wow.
It's all about the entertainment value, which is like basically all I ever care about is the entertainment value. So
This sounds really fun. That sounds like something I would totally
it's
love to go see. I didn't even know that that was a thing.
most
So
people don't.
yeah, so like I imagine your experience dancing like actually is helpful in this situation.
Oh, extremely, extremely. And a lot of the like physical moves that we do, as well as just like the conditioning of my body, is like the same stuff that I do pole dancing.
Hmm.
So like it really like crosses over, and it's really cool to like have that crossover because it's easier to like do those things.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have had the confidence to get on stage the first time and actually try it if I hadn't have been dancing first.
Yeah, because it's so much more than just going on stage and being evaluated. Like you actually have to
Yeah,
put on a whole show, and it's not that different from going on stage at a club. And like it seems like even the
it's really
moves are
not.
similar.
Yeah, and I'd like to joke like I'm still half naked too.
Yeah.
Like we're in these very like next to nothing clothing because they're trying to see our muscles and the way we
Hmm.
move. And it's a lot of the same shock value and entertainment value that you use on stage in a club too. So it's like pole dancing minus the pole.
That's fun. I am gonna have to check this out. And
I'll send you some videos later of some of the
yes,
pros because they're crazy. They're crazy.
yes, this sounds fun. I never knew that like I knew about bodybuilding, but I only knew like the Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of bodybuilding, and I never knew that there was like a whole performance type of bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's really cool. A lot of people don't realize. And even like the Arnold Schwarzenegger version, even just like that category, which his category now is considered classic physique because it's based off of that old school golden era
Hmm.
body frame. The posing routines that we do, they're really based in that like performance value too. A lot of the pros and stuff, they like to use their music, and it's like super emotional when you watch them do this shit. They'll use like some crazy slow songs, like all these crazy, like I've seen veterans use war songs before and stuff, and like they get so
Whoa.
deep into it, like it's like their form of dance, and it's
Wow.
really cool to watch.
That's really interesting. I'm definitely gonna have to check this out. You are blowing my mind with I'm so fascinated now. And so like is there a different kind of preparation that goes into this type of bodybuilding than like traditional Arnold Schwarzenegger classic bodybuilding?
So yeah, for me, it's a lot more difficult because when you're doing like any of the other categories, like what Arnold did or any of like what the men do and most of the women, it's you're very depleted running up to
Hmm.
your show. The whole point is you lower your carb intake in order to lean your body down so that you can see the muscle definition.
Hmm.
And it's that like super tone look. And so when your body's like that, it's really hard for your body to actually function at like a full rate, like you're
Hmm.
not 100%. It's going to affect your hormones. It's going to affect your sleep patterns. It's going to affect your cycle, even if you're a woman, like our bodies are not made to go to that level of leanness that we're going to. And we're talking like 5% and under body fat, like practically
Wow.
nothing. And
Wow.
so it's like doing that and then trying to do these crazy jump push-ups or this like some of the pros do backflips. I'm not at that point yet, but like handsprings and all this shit that they do, it's very difficult on your body because you're outputting more energy in that like 2 minute period than you've basically intaked in calories all day. Like
Wow.
you're basically starving, like just completely starving. So your conditioning has to be like on point. You have to be able to basically just like push past any shitty feeling you're going to get and just kind of do it anyway. It's like you're here, you kind of just have to do it at that point.
Yeah. So
So
like how do you prepare your stamina for something like that? Like I can't even imagine.
a lot of different stuff, a lot of different training and stuff. The pole dancing for sure helps me. I think that's like a huge factor for me
Yeah.
because I'll be on this diet and I'll go into work and I'll like, 9 minutes on stage at a time, whatever. And it's like definitely helps me get a lot of my conditioning.
Hmm.
But on top of that, I'm also in the gym every single day for at least an hour and a half or more. And there's a lot of fasted yoga in the morning, fasted cardio some days. Basically, it's getting your body to that point and pushing further so that way you've already experienced worse when you're at that position. It's like I've been worse than this before. I felt worse than this before. So you're just kind of
Wow.
okay with
And then so like
it.
when your show is over and when you're done performing? Like, do you just go balls to the wall eating whatever you can? Because that's what I would do.
That's what you want to do. That's what everybody wants to do. And a lot of people make the mistake of doing that their first time, and it actually can make you extremely sick.
That makes
It
sense.
can literally hospitalize you because
What?
no, it's actually kind of dangerous. So there's this thing called a reverse, and it's reintroducing carbs into your body at a steady rate because you've been at this
Mm,
depleted point for so long. Your body's used to it. When your body gets used to something, you can shock your system. And
that
so if
makes
you
sense.
just go and just like pig out or whatever, like you can get really sick. And I actually made that mistake my first show. I didn't overdo it, but I did get to the point where I almost threw up and I was like, okay, I'm not eating anymore. Like I need to stop. And
Yeah, you
because it
gotta.
is super exciting to be like, oh, like I'm not eating chicken and rice right now. You know, I can have like a hamburger or something. And then it's like one hamburger turns into like donuts and ice cream.
That's exactly what I would
So
want to do in that
yeah.
situation. Wow.
Me, 100% me. Like I love all of that stuff, and it's super tempting to just want to go and just eat everything.
So you have to have like a really specialized diet plan to like pull this off and even to come out of it. That's
In
fascinating.
a way, yeah, in a way, which is difficult to maintain.
Yeah, like oh man, it's a world that I'm so not familiar with. It's fascinating. It's so fascinating. And like what's it like being at the competitions? Like what's the vibe like?
It's super inclusive, and I think that's why I fell in love with it. And like I went with at the time it was my boyfriend, but my ex now he took me to my first competition. He was competing, and
Hmm.
I had a camera and I was just backstage taking pictures of him and just being supportive and shit. It's such an inclusive vibe. Like everybody wants to talk, everybody's chatting, people are helping each other out, giving each other tips. It's
That's
like
awesome.
sharing food with each other because everybody's sitting around eating rice cakes and shit, and like
Yeah.
everybody's just like people are super cool about shit. Most of them, at least. There's always those select few that are just kind of shitty people, but I mean that's
Yeah,
any industry, anything you go to. But I really
exactly.
like I realized at this last show that like going to the shows and like being around that environment and that community like really is what like drives you to want to come back to another one. I
Hmm.
think because even if you don't win, like I've lost before, you everybody loses.
Yeah.
Um, People are still super cool about shit. They'll compliment you on like the randomest things that you don't even notice, and it's
Yeah.
cool to have like pros in the industry sitting there with like their Rolex watches on and shit telling you like, oh, you did a great job, like you'll be better at the next one. And you're like, dude, like you have like 6 titles. The fact that I'm even meeting you right now is blowing my mind. Like
For sure. For sure.
so it's
Wow.
cool.
I definitely want to check this out. That sounds like something that would be so fun to look at and like be around. Wow.
Cool. It's cool. There's even a I don't know what they call it, I guess a handicap division.
Hmm.
Um, and or yeah, like, like the Special Olympics has all of that. We have our own version of that where we have our own division for people with any type of handicap or disability. So they can still get on stage and compete. They can still do it.
That's
And it's
really
right there on the
cool.
same stage we're on. Like you're doing the same stuff. You're on the same stage. You have the same judges and the same coaches. There's no differences. Like it's just you're in a category with other people who are, you know,
Yeah.
fit your category if that's what you want to do.
That's
So it's super
beautiful.
inclusive. Yeah.
That's really, really cool. Wow. Wow. It's so new to me. I'm just like wrapping my head around. That's so
The
cool.
girls at the club, like the girls at the club always like make weird comments and like look at me funny. And then they like
Why?
ask me because they're sitting there eating whatever the house mom cooked food or whatever, or like
Mm.
ordering food, or there's pizza, and I'm sitting there with like pre-made meal preps and my snacks and whatever. But like I'm like on an hourly timer. I have to go eat at certain times during my work shift. And they're like,
Mm.
Right? Like you're eating again. Like it's been 2 hours and you're eating again. And they'll like make the randomest comments to me. And I'm like, but I look like this. So
Yeah. And
it's worth it.
probably makes work a lot easier when you're used to having that kind of stamina. Like I know that like for me working a full night at a club, like especially since I haven't done it in a while, it's exhausting.
It's still exhausting for me too, definitely. I think it's almost more exhausting actually.
Really?
Surprisingly. You'd think it'd be easier, but because like keep in mind I'm still training before I go to the club.
That's
You
true.
know,
I
like I'm still doing other stuff during the day while everybody's at work or doing their whatever it is that they do. Like, I've still got a
yeah.
2 hour training session and 30 minutes of yoga when I wake up without food in my system and like all these other
Wow.
things that I'm doing. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that's a
then
lot of discipline.
I'm not perfect. I do not do it all perfectly every time. It's in a learning process. I'm at the best point right now, but I still have days where I don't want to do more than 5 minutes of yoga because I'm like, I'm too starving and I just want to eat my breakfast. Like I
I
don't want to do
feel
it.
you. I feel you. I know I was surprised the other day when we were rehearsing and you were telling me that you still had to go to the gym afterwards, and I was like, this was my workout.
And I had already done an hour of yoga too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so much.
And I went to the gym and I did legs for like 2 hours after that. I went and did an hour and 45 minutes of legs and then 15 minutes of my skills for
That's
my like routines.
impressive.
Yeah.
I
I
went home
don't know
and
how
took
I
a
do it.
nap. I went home and took a nap. I couldn't even imagine. But I mean, it's amazing that you're able to do all that. Like, I think that building your body up to be able to handle that is incredible.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like I have to.
Hmm.
I have a lot of silent sicknesses, so my body isn't as healthy as it seems.
Mm,
And so like even like some days at work, like it won't even be the end of my shift and I'm like sitting in the back because I can't move. Like
hmm.
I just have these random points where my body will just give out on me. So for me, it's more like if I don't do this, like I'm extremely unhealthy. And it took a long time for me to get to this point of health, I guess.
Yeah.
And I still have a lot of things that I have to figure out because I still have a lot of shit that I just like don't have dialed down or anything like that, and a lot of pains and injuries and things.
Do you
So I
think
feel like I have to do it.
do you think being on this disciplined regimen makes it harder for you when you do need to take a break?
I think the regimen's actually easier. When I start to stray from it is
Hmm.
when I start to get into like a more painful, I guess, position.
Yeah.
Um, like if I like, like go on like a week binger where all I do is drink every night. Not that I don't drink a
Yeah.
lot off or often, but when I do drink, like I will drink. And if I do that more than once a week, my body really starts to like just shut
Hmm.
down on me. And like I'm 25, my body should not be shutting down on me after drinking one night during the week.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, and especially
that's
if you're not used to if you like don't have the tolerance, like if you're not used to living that way and like you suddenly switch into it, I've noticed since I slowed down drinking even that like one night of drinking will fuck me up.
yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I'd much rather just take an edible and like chill out.
Yeah, totally.
But I think my body likes that better though. It definitely
Mm-hmm.
helps.
Yeah. Man, that's such a fascinating world. I am so excited to learn more. Like I'm so
That's cool.
excited to see what these performances look like. It's I can't get over it. Like I never knew that that existed.
So one of the pros actually pulled a pull out on stage during one of her performances.
Yeah?
Yes. So this was cool. She actually, and it made a huge statement because she does pole dancing as well, not as a dancer. Though there is actually a pro that is also a sex worker and a dancer.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, she just recently stopped bodybuilding to focus on that more.
Hmm.
Um, But this one pro, like she's one of the top girls. Her name's Oksana Grishna. She is Russian, I believe, or Ukrainian. I can't remember. But she pulled a literal X pull, one of the platform ones, put it on her stage. And the last like 30 seconds of her routine, she got up on the pole and started doing an Aisha and all this other crazy tricks and stuff. And I was like,
Yes.
wait, if that's, and that was like when I saw that routine, that was what made me be like, wait, I can do this category.
Yeah.
Like I can do all of the things she's doing. Like I don't have a backflip, but it's not mandatory. Like I can
Totally.
learn that. It just takes a little while. So
Yeah, and like I imagine most of the moves that are required you could do on a pole, except maybe a push-up.
yeah. And like spinning Shay, she actually a lot of her floor work tricks. Those are a lot of the things that we do in
Hmm.
the competition. And so I actually learned a lot of my stuff from her. From her videos.
Yes.
I like watch her videos and I'm like, I can do that.
Yes. I love Shay. I've had her in some of my
She's
shows
great.
and she's incredible. Such
I've
an
never
incredible
actually met her
performer.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her performances. I watch her all her performances. I've learned a lot of my like showmanship from her, definitely.
Hell yeah. And she teaches
Yeah.
private stretching lessons also.
I
I've
know.
taken
She
I've
works
taken
for
some of her lessons.
the PYT group, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that whole group's really cool. We were just talking about their heels.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh man. So what was it like when you moved to Vegas and started dancing out here, like once the clubs did open back up?
It was, I'm trying to think of the right word.
You can be honest.
It was extremely shocking. Um, like I
Shocking
said,
how.
it's so the club I'm from is the way I put it, basically probably one of the shittiest places I could have started. Like, I
Mm.
saw all kinds of shit, plenty of things happened there, whatever. And then I get to Vegas and it was like, it's like being a fish and just running into a damn wall. You're like, what in the actual fuck is happening right now? Like, and I mean, even
Yes.
before the pandemic, those first couple months, like everybody was telling me, oh, it's never this slow. We don't know what's happening. And I'm like, I still am like overwhelmed by everything that's going on. Like in the
Hmm.
Vegas clubs, girls just they're fucking ruthless. Like they will dash at
Yes.
customers. They act like they're property. Like he's
Hmm.
a human being, not a wallet. Like they're still a person. You can't just treat them that way. And some
Yeah.
of the shit I see, in the way they treat the other girls, I'm like, you sleep at night acting like that?
I was shocked
Like,
too when I first moved out here, or even I came to dance for a week before I lived here, and like I was shocked at how cutthroat it was. Like the first place, one of the first places I danced out here was at Sapphire, which is like the most cutthroat. It was insane.
okay,
Like girls were waiting at the door and like grabbing guys as soon as they came in and like demanding a dance. And I was just like, I cannot be this girl. Like that's so
right.
rude in my world.
Yeah, same. And when I first started, I went to Rhino.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh, same deal. Yeah.
well, and I had started at a Rhino, and
Hmm.
I'd even traveled random, but I traveled to Boise, Idaho, because I had a friend out there, and I went and worked out there for a week. So I'd gone
Yeah.
to the Rhino there in Idaho too, and I loved that one. Like that one was actually the first time I was on a spinning pole. I was telling you about that the other day.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Almost died. But when I came to Vegas, I went to the Rhino out here thinking like, oh, a little bit of comfort. Like I know
Hmm.
the chain or whatever. No, not even like that at all. Like I still had short hair at the time, but I was thin. So they were like, okay, like, you're hired, whatever. Then as he's walking me out onto the floor, he looks at me and he goes, oh, by the way, you need to take that nose ring out. And I'm like, you didn't tell me this before I signed the paperwork and paid the $100 house fee. And he's like, oh, I didn't see it. And I was like, okay, well then clearly it's not that noticeable. Like my nipples are pierced too. Is that going to be a problem? He didn't know what the fuck to say to me. He looks at me and he's just like, just have it out before your next shift. And I was like, okay, like in my head thinking the fuck, like, uh, and then after about 2 hours, I'm like just kind of taking everything in, walking the floor, whatever. And I end up walking over to him and I'm like, I think I'm gonna go. Like, this club isn't really for me. And he's like, it's okay. A lot of girls are intimidated by Vegas their first time. And I'm like, oh no, no, you misunderstand me. You guys are, this club is too basic and I'm way more rock and roll. I'm gonna go. And he looked at me and he just walked me back to the dressing room, said, didn't say a fucking word, and just walked out.
I so feel that though. Like when I tried to audition at Rhino actually when I first came out here, and they gave me like a flat out no. They were like,
Really?
"No."
Oh,
Like tattoos, nose ring, I'm brown. Like no.
yeah, yeah. And my friend, and so that's another thing. Like I was mentioning, like I luckily like I can pass for white. Like if I don't go outside, like I can pass pretty easy. And at the time, I was like pale because I knew that that was going to be a problem. Like I had already predetermined that this might be an issue. And so like
Yeah.
I went in looking all
Oy.
like prim and proper and whatnot, and didn't overdo my makeup or anything because I'm alternative too. So it's like I don't want to push it. And then it was like, you know what? This isn't even worth it.
Yeah.
Like this, it's just not worth it. And they do, what they do? They rotate girls at the door. It's a
Mm.
shift. You have to. They will pick you and they will tell you it's your turn. Yeah.
See, I
And
wasn't
they'll pick
even in the
girls
building,
and they'll
so I had no
it's so
idea.
weird. It's so weird. He's
What?
like, later tonight, someone will get you and tell you to go stand by the door. When they do, you have to go over there until another girl comes to relieve you. So it's something they actually set up at the Rhino. They want you to be like walking in with the guys. And like the second these men walk through the door, you're supposed to like stand up and be on their arm and be like, hi, how are you? And stuff. And like,
Is that
it's
fun for
very like,
customers?
I don't know. Cause it's like, one, you're coming into a strip club wearing a suit and acting like it's like a cigar house, and it's kind of more
Yeah.
that vibe. And like it feels like a cigar house with like pretty waitresses, but
Hmm.
they're dancers. Even
Okay.
the stage has like three girls on stage at a time, and like no
Okay.
one touched the pole at all. And I was there for 2 hours. I was the first girl to touch the pole of the whole 2 hours that I was there. I was like, this is a club still, right? Like I
That
get it if they
was
were doing like the dancing and the old school gowns, but like these girls are just sitting on stage. They're just sitting
mhm.
like
Yeah,
in front of
that
customers.
that was another thing that Amanda and I just discussed a while ago is like I had never even imagined the concept of not wanting to be on stage until I was in Vegas. Like girls will pay extra house fee to not go on stage, and that is just so absurd to me.
I so I was aware of it because back at my home club where I started, the girls hated going on stage.
Yeah.
But I thought that that was just kind of like particular to our club because we had a really shitty stage, like the fucking worst stage. I mean, I pulled a piece of it out of my leg one night. Like it was the worst. So I was like, oh, it's just because we have a shitty stage. These girls just don't like stage. And then
Mhm.
I come out to Vegas and it's like, oh no, like 90% of dancers do not want to go on stage.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's
Vegas
a
has
solid
some of the best stages.
and that's the thing that drives me insane. It's like these and the ones that don't pay to be off stage, they sit there and do literally nothing and make 3 times as much as me on stage. And I'm like, like what I don't even like I don't and then
Yeah.
they'll come up to me and be like, oh, you're so good on stage. And I'm like, yeah, but you just made $300. I made $3. Like it doesn't matter. It does not matter
It
how
does
good
not
you are on
matter.
stage. Like they do not care. It
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Vegas clubs are for
sucks.
marketing one specific look, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
a it's strange, especially like coming from dancing anywhere else. It's such a strange world out here.
Yeah, like you think of a club and you like I'm like my whole interpretation of like a strip club is like you should be able to like have options. Like that's
Mhm.
the point. You're going to find things
Right.
that you don't have access to in your daily life. So doesn't make sense to me when all the girls look the
Right.
same. It's
It's
like you could
so
find that
strange.
anywhere.
And then you compare it to like I've danced in Portland as well, and it's such a different world. It's like Portland's full of like dive bars with hot girls of every type, and like some of them are doing just the most incredible stage shows, and it's like a whole circus, and everybody's making money. The money happens easily, and like people are eating hot dogs at the tip rail.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've
Yeah,
been told a few times I need to go to Portland, but I haven't made it that far yet.
I will tell you, I have legit made way more money in Portland than I ever expect to make in Vegas.
I I kind of don't doubt that. That's what everybody keeps telling me.
And it was
Like,
so much easier and more fun. And like, I also noticed in Portland, like, the hustle isn't as hard and it's not as cutthroat. Like, the customers, because strip clubs are just such a normal thing in Portland, the customers like expect to pay the dancers for something, like at least tip them or buy a $20 dance or whatever. So like
yeah,
customers aren't offended when you ask for a dance. Like they're just like, "Oh yeah, totally. Here's $20. No big deal." And you can
they know why they're there.
yeah, and you can just easily sell dances like that. Like champagne rooms aren't so much of a thing because it's like a dive bar, but
Yeah.
you can still sell private dances like a 15-minute or something. Like it's so much easier. It's so much easier than Vegas.
I guess I'm planning a trip to Portland now. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Shit, I'll go with you. That shit was fun. My only problem with Portland is every dime I made I spent on other strippers.
oh no, see that
Cuz
would be my problem.
yeah, like the dancers there are just so talented. Like my mind was blown. It was like Cirque level talent. Like
See, oh,
it was
speaking of Cirque,
incredible.
that's the goal.
I mean, they do a lot of their
Cirque is like
casting
that's my
here.
ultimate goal.
They do a lot of their casting
And
here.
that's kind of why I'm here. Like
Yes.
eventually we'll get there.
Yes, and there's a lot of the
I used to live next to their wait, go
a,
ahead.
a lot of the Cirque people train at certain aerial gyms here. So we can talk about that off camera. Um,
Yes.
yes, yes. I don't want to blow anybody's spot up and be like, this is where they're training.
Yeah. Right.
But
Just dox them real quick.
right. But yeah, no, Vegas is definitely a good spot to be if Cirque is a goal. Like there's a lot going on in this town and there's a lot of shows that are in town, so you won't necessarily have to travel if you get cast. Because that's the
Yeah.
hard part I've heard about working for Cirque is like if you're in one of the traveling shows, like that is your life.
Yeah. Traveling for anything when it comes to like physical activity, like even for my competitions, like that stuff is hard because the traveling
Hmm.
puts so much stress on your body and it affects you so deeply. People don't even like they don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. And like I have so much respect even for just traveling dancers, like dancers that their whole thing is traveling to different cities or like flying to Vegas for the weekend. And I've traveled for dancing, but usually it's like 1 week at a time. I can't imagine doing that full time. It seems so exhausting.
It is. I actually tried it for a minute.
Yeah?
Um,
How was
when
it
I
for
before
you?
I came to Vegas, it's fucking exhausting. Especially if you're
Yeah.
doing it with like a significant other, or like with someone else too, in your
Hmm.
house, like it's even harder. Um,
Yeah.
when I
I can.
first like 6 months into when I first started dancing, one of the managers came to like cover basically for a weekend from another club from one of the other rhinos, and he was like, "Hey, come work for me. Like, I
Hmm.
want you to come work for me. Like, I know it's like it was like a 2.5 hour drive." And he was like, "I know it's a travel, whatever. So like, I'll let you pick whatever days you want, whenever you want, but come, like, I want you to come work at my club." Because at this point I had already gotten pretty good at dancing and like
Hmm.
picked it up really quick. And so I was like, okay, cool. So for like a month and a half, 2 months, something like that, I was going every weekend. I was driving 2.5 hours to Santa Barbara to go work at one of the clubs there. And
That's a
yeah, it was
lot.
extremely draining. And like just finding a hotel, getting to a hotel, driving there, making sure there's nothing wrong with the car, like constantly like figuring out your food too. Like California is not open 24 hours like Vegas is.
Yeah.
So it's like you get off at 2 a.m. or you get off at 3 a.m. because Cali closes so much earlier. And it's like you have McDonald's or Jack in the Box. Like there's nothing else to eat. So if you don't have food already ready or like anything else already done, like you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're just fucked. And then it's like
Oh,
clearly Jack in the Box and McDonald's are not sustainable for a dancer's physique or like body type or even just
yeah.
like the activity
Es-
that we do. Like even if you aren't pole dancing and you're just dancing, like even if it's just a club shift, like that's not the right shit to be eating.
and especially for
So
you, your
it
competitive
was
bodybuilding, like you
yeah,
can't
and
eat
I
like
was
that.
just starting then too. Yeah, I had just started competing too, so it was definitely hell
That's
for
stressful.
sure.
Man, yeah, I know
Yeah.
when I danced in San Francisco, I knew a couple of dancers that lived in Santa Cruz. And like and one of them didn't even drive. She would take the train and I'm like, "How is it worth it for you to come all the way out here?" Like, but it was worth it for her and like she made that
I feel
money.
like the train, that's smart. That would probably be cheaper than driving, at least in
Yeah.
Cali, it's definitely a lot cheaper.
But then she'd have to wait for the first train in the morning because it didn't run all night. Like it was a whole
Okay.
thing. And I was impressed that she had that much determination because
Yeah, right?
I would not, but
Yeah.
it motivated her to really hustle while she was working, make it worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely learned a lot. It was nice because I learned a lot after that whole experience. My money really started to like go up because I was still a baby stripper and I was still like struggling, body
Hmm.
confidence and self confidence and image issues and everything else you could have under the book. And uh, it was weird for sure. But I like was around all these girls that were like, "You're the first girl in 2 years to be hired at our club, and you got invited." And they were
Wow.
just kind of like a big like, "Fuck you. We don't care who you are. We don't want to know who you are. You don't belong here." And so it was like, cool, cool. I made like, no one wanted to talk to me or deal with me or anything like that. And these girls like all did rooms together. Like it was a thing they did at that club. They like did group rooms with like
Huh.
6 people at a time. And so I'm just like by myself, like picking up whatever stragglers I could get and stuff. So it like definitely made me like step it up a notch because it was like I had to make
Yeah.
back that money that I was spending to get there.
And it's so much more stressful
So
when you're like contending with dancers who don't want to be working with you. Oh,
yeah,
I can't imagine working with that kind of
yeah.
hostility. That's not fun.
I think you see that a lot out here in Vegas too. You get a lot of that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
People are
When,
like that.
when I was working at Sapphire, I had a cocktail waitress steal $200 from me.
I haven't had someone steal from me, but I had a girl shove me into
Man.
the bar a couple weeks ago.
Oh no.
Literally, because her, as she put it, her customer, quotation marks. This guy walks up to me, and I like to stand at the bar because it's like, a good way to get guys. So
Yeah.
I like to hang out at the bar when there's nothing like obvious to go sit down with or anything. And this guy walks up like shoulder to shoulder with me, and I'm like, oh, excuse me, like, I'm sorry. Hi, how are you? And he's just like, oh, I'm good, like, whatever, starts to respond. And this girl comes up, shoves me into the bar, like shoulder checks me. And she's shorter than me because like I wear 8-inch stilettos. You see how tall I am. This girl
Yeah.
shoulder checks me. So she like hits me in the waist and like pushes me into the bar counter on the other side of my waist. And the guy's like, what the fuck? Like in front of this customer. And she's like, no, 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 he's my customer. He's my customer. And like broken English. Like she doesn't really speak a lot of English. And she's just like, he's my customer. He's my customer. And I was like, whoa, like, I'm not taking your customer. You were standing all the way like 3 feet away from him. He came up and like bumped me. I just said, excuse me and hello. Like, can you please get off of me? And this whole time
Yeah.
she's still like hitting me against the bar as she's like telling me to like stay away from my customer, stay away from my customer. Like, oh, we were already with him. We were already with him. I'm like, I'm sorry for this interaction, sir. When you're free later and if you want to chat, like I'll be available. I apologize for all of this. And like
Yeah.
she's still telling me to fuck off while she's still pitting me to the bar. Like, can you get off of me? Please. I was like, you need to move so I can move, chick. Like,
That I don't understand that strategy because it seems like that would make the customer uncomfortable too. Like,
It would make anyone uncomfortable.
yeah, and like,
Like imagine
why
just
not just team up? Take
she
his
was
money
with another
together.
girl already. That was the thing. She's like with this other girl already, and she's telling me, "Oh, it's our customer." Like we were already with him, and the other girl's just standing there, and I'm like, clearly she doesn't care. Why do you care so much? Like,
And like, girl, if you own him, you better shorten that leash.
yeah, right. Like, why did you
Like,
talk to me? Excuse you. It
that's
ain't
so
my fault.
weird. That's so weird. I never understood like girls that are hostile to other dancers. Like, we all got to see each other all the time. We all got to work in the same building, and like we're all here with the same goal in mind. Like, why not work together instead of making it some weird competitive mess?
Right. And I think I know like at the end of the day, like we all have those moments where we get like jealous when people are making money or making more money than us, or like we feel like we're not making money. Like everybody has those moments, but it's like you got to be able to like work through that and like identify that like, okay, maybe I'm not making money tonight, but tomorrow night, like I can, or like maybe tonight, like I didn't, you maybe you have like one bad situation. It's like, okay, but there's still like 4 hours left in your shift. Like there's still
Right.
4 hours left to get like four other customers for an hour VIP if you really like put your mind to it.
Right. And like if somebody is making more than you, like on a significant level, like maybe evaluate what they're doing differently and adjust. Like don't
Yeah.
try to bring them down. Like there's enough money
Yeah,
to go around.
exactly. And that was something I was definitely had someone try to do that to me back when I first started. Even now, still people try and bring me down. I'm like, it's easier because they see like because I'm so alternative and stuff, and like the way I present in the club, they like find things. Like I've
Hmm.
actually had customers tell me that girls had told them that I used to be a boy, and I mean for the last since I started
What?
dancing, this has been and I've had customers ask me to my face before, like, were you born a woman? And I'm like, excuse me? Like, if I wasn't, do you think my tits would be this small? Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like I actually had a guy who was like, your boobs are small. Are you even a girl? And I'm like, it's dude, like, yeah, and I have no body fat either. Like, you can't correlate those things.
And it's
And
so
like when I
weird.
had no hair too, they were like, girls would literally tell customers, "Oh yeah, she used to be a boy. She's not. She's trans." And I'm like, No,
What
no,
do
I'm
they
not.
get
But
out
like a
of
lot of my friends are. So like it's
what I don't understand what performers get out of putting down the people they work with. Like there's
to the
no
customers too.
to the
Like, do you
customers,
think that's
yeah.
gonna make you more money? You look like a shitty person now.
But then again, there are so many customers that like get off on making the girls argue. I've seen this so many
That's
times.
true.
I've
That
seen
is
this so
true.
many times, and I've had customers like try to create conflict between me and other dancers, and I really don't give a shit. Like, I don't have time to pick
Same.
on other people. I really don't give a
And
shit
I
what's
think it's
going
a
on.
turn on for them. I
Hmm.
think it's a turn on for them. I definitely think like it's a fetish. It's one of their things, Guys like getting off on it, just like people like the degradation and stuff. They like want to see us fight. Like they want that cat fight thing, and it's like not happening. You could pay me to fight her.
Right.
Let's
Let's
talk.
go upstairs. Let's go upstairs and talk about
Clearly you're
it.
just yeah, you're trying to get some free stuff out of this. Clearly that's what you're into, and like I'm not gonna just give it to you for
No.
free, but
No.
no,
No.
not today.
Ew. Mm-mm-mm. It's such a shame. It's such a shame. Like, ugh, there's so much. Mm-mm-mm. I can't understand the need for drama, the seeking out of drama. It's just
It's people that are unsatisfied with themselves, really, at the end of the day. That's all it is, Like you've got enough time to worry about that, then you're not occupying yourself with something else.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know,
That's a
like a bored
really
a bored man is just a hateful man. That's all
that's
it
a
is.
that's a really good way to look at it. That's a really good way to look at it. Mm-mm-mm.
Takes a lot of energy to talk shit.
Right? Like that's what I don't understand is like you're investing your own time and energy into this and like when I'm working, I'm focusing on using my time and energy to make money, not to like pick on people. Right? So
Right.
like
I had a girl back in California who would pick on me like every fucking night. This girl would just go in on me. Like she told me a million times, like, you're never gonna make it in Vegas. You'll never even get hired in Vegas. All this shit. She would fuck with me every night. She's one of the girls that used to tell customers lies about me and like all this stuff. And one night she tried to fight me to my face. She's literally like, "You want to go outside?" And I looked at her and I was like, "You're almost 10 years older than me. You've been doing this twice as long as me. I don't have the time to deal with you and your toxic energy." And it was like
yeah.
such a like slap to the face to her because she didn't know what to say. She was so used to people being like, "Yeah, let's go outside and fight." And I was like, "I don't have the energy to fight you because you don't fucking deserve it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go back to work now. I'm gonna go make some money now instead of sitting here fighting you for pointless reason."
And that's sometimes that's the best thing you can do is just hold a mirror up to the absurdity of their behavior. Like look at yourself, look
Right?
at what you're doing.
Yeah. Like,
Like you're
you
being
see what you
ridiculous.
see how you're behaving?
Yeah. Like there's no need to be getting into fights and picking on each other. Like we all go to make money and we all need to support each other in making money. Like there's no sense in having that hostile environment. And
Right.
like
I totally
I don't know, man. I come from such a different like I so when I started stripping, I started in a cooperatively owned unionized peep show, which was a whole different vibe than any other place I've ever danced, and like it was like a sisterhood. And so like coming from that to clubs where dancers pick on each other for fun or think that like putting down another dancer is going to make them more money was just the most absurd thing I'd ever seen because it's just like no, if we work together we all make more money. I don't understand.
right.
It's just
Right. And
it's so hard to wrap my head around it.
yeah, the logic just it blows my mind.
But hopefully, hopefully some of these women will see our podcast and see how much good can come out of the camaraderie of it.
I mean, I definitely your podcast definitely did something for me. I would say that much. 'Cause the fact that I'm like
Thank
even having
you.
this conversation with you right now kind of still blowing my mind. So
Oh, thank you.
definitely marked something off of my to-do list. I no, I literally told myself when I started listening to your podcast, I was like, I'm gonna be on that show one like in the next like year, like
Hell
guaranteed.
yeah.
And I'm like sitting here right now, like, yeah, okay, I actually did that.
Hell yeah. And now we're planning a show
Yeah,
together and it's going to be
yeah, and it's a fetish
glorious.
show, which I love because
Yes.
that's my thing. I'm a fetish fanatic, I guess.
Yes. And that was one of the reasons why we like had to have you in this show is because it's just it's not only up your alley, but you are the right person for this role.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it, and that was like fetish show. Like, and no one told me about it prior too. I was like, I texted the DJ. I was like, we didn't know about this. He's like, we did not know about this, or you would have been the first person to find out. And I was like, cool,
I'll be
good to know.
totally honest, I didn't know about it either.
Okay, it
We
was
kind
just
of
sprung on everybody.
yeah, we kind
Everybody
of
was
just
like,
made it happen.
which I love. Like, I think that's great. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like
I'm super excited.
I really have to thank like Mike for pulling this all together and like uh
Yeah,
and Tim for taking those amazing pictures of us. Oh my God, they're so hot.
yeah. I know. Oh my God, I know.
Yes.
I haven't even gone through all of them yet.
Same.
I'm
Like
like,
there's just so many good ones. So many good ones. And oh,
yeah.
this show is going to be so hot. I cannot wait for everyone to see it. Like we've been rehearsing and pulling it all together and it's going to be so much fun. Like I've done
Yeah.
other shows before and like burlesque shows and feature shows and different types of events and like nothing on this level. it's going to be so kinky and so hot. And by the time this comes out,
So
already be seeing us be amazing.
right. It'll be like, go watch it. Go watch it. It was great. I'm excited too. This is gonna be my first show, and like it's the whole reason like I moved to Vegas to strip. It was like I want to do the featured shows. I want to do this type of stuff,
Yes.
like
Yes.
that entertainment aspect, that like old school, like, and I like that it's still like kind of burlesque. You
Hmm. Yeah,
know, I feel like it is kind of burlesque.
there's definitely a burlesque element to it, and like
Yeah, yeah,
it's not a
for
regular
kinky
feature
stuff.
show. Like it's perverted.
No, it's perverted. It's not a normal feature show in the slightest. It is
Yes.
definitely out of the box.
And I owe Leo big thanks for letting us do this.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's gonna be so fun. And I'm so glad to have you guys involved. Like I feel like with a lot of feature shows and shows that like come into clubs, a lot of times it's just like we show up and then we're gone. And I
yeah,
think it's really amazing to like not only have this ongoing show, but also be able to involve dancers that are actively working at the club.
I agree. I think that's a really cool factor. 'Cause a lot of times I've noticed that like, oh, the girls will, they just come in and they'll work the night too. Sometimes the
Hmm.
features will stay and they'll do rooms and they'll work the shift. But like they don't even like necessarily talk to us or address us. You know, like there's a couple ones at the club that I'm at this club, because like Angel Bow and
I love Angel. She's been in my shows
yeah,
too.
she's awesome. And then Jezebel too.
Hmm. I know
She's
Jezebel.
great. They're great. They're
Yes.
both great. And those were actually both the first two features I ever met, like, and the first shows I ever saw when they came to the club. And I'm sitting there like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And those ladies put on a hell of a show.
they do. They entertain for sure. And this is so different from what they do. And I think it's cool because like this
Hmm.
is gonna be a whole different side of a feature act.
Yeah. Oh man, I
It's
remember
fun.
the first time I had Angel in one of my shows. It was like before the lockdown. I did a show downtown at a restaurant during Avian, and like it was a really incredible lineup of like other porn performers and like really awesome burlesque performers. And I, the audience was shook by Angel's performance with because she did the needles and
Yes.
we're not
Oh,
ready for that.
they never are. They're never ready for any of it. It's like every time she pulls something out, people are like, wait, what's happening now? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And I
it's
love the like
great.
shock element of her performance. And she's just so beautiful and glamorous that like people don't quite expect it.
Yeah, right. She's like, you want to staple a dollar bill to my ass cheek? I'm like, yes, I
Yeah,
do. Yes,
I
I
love
do.
that. I love stapler acts. That's like my
It's
favorite
the best.
thing.
It's so fun.
I'd probably
She came up to me after the last one. She's like, there's blood on my leg. I was like, nice.
That's
It was funny.
amazing. That's amazing. So much fun. There's so much we can learn from each other's experiences. Sit back and listen and see what advice this babe has for you.
The internet is your best friend. Do your research, look up
Yes.
everything, follow other girls, follow the clubs, follow
Hmm.
dancers resource, look at the clubs before you go to them. If you haven't ever been to a club, go to a club first. I started stripping and I had never stepped foot in a strip club before. I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what I was doing. And the internet is literally your best friend. And especially now, like Amanda's got her YouTube channel. I know that's
Yeah.
really cool, really good. This podcast helped me. Hone the Nose, another really good one that helped me too. Um,
Hmm.
Reddit even has some really good subreddits where you can just listen to all of the stuff that girls say and like really just research it. If you have a question, like do not be afraid to ask. Do not be afraid to ask anybody. Like even in the club, like if there's a girl that's like
Hmm.
super chill and like nice with you, like ask her a question.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
done it before. I learned a lot by just asking the older girls random questions and like
Hmm.
they're keen to share info with you because they're going to be out of the game eventually, and somebody has to take over, you know.
Veteran
So
strippers possess so much knowledge and
so much
information.
knowledge. Even if you think that they don't know what they're doing and they're just sitting there, ask them, how long have you been dancing? They can tell you some stuff that like will blow your mind. Like there are girls at my club that have been dancing over 15 years. And like even our house mom is an ex-dancer. And like
Yeah.
she'll tell us stuff. And like I've gotten so many tips and so many like so much information and like even just good one-liners. Like you
Yes.
cannot go wrong with a good one-liner. Like my
Yes.
favorite question too is if you're ever stuck in a VIP room and you don't know what to say to the guy, just ask him, what animal do you think you could take in a fight? And I think that was something I heard on this podcast. I think that was in one of your
Yes.
first episodes, right? The amount
I think
of times I've used that on dates before too, where I've like been
yes.
talking about work and I'm like, oh yeah, guys are super simple. Like you ask a guy like what animal can you take in a fight, and these guys will go on for half an hour, and I'm like, I was trying to prove a point, and my point was proven. Like, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I always say that like for me, phone sex was like sex worker boot camp, and the one thing that I learned from doing years and years and years of phone sex is like ask a zillion fucking questions. Like
yeah,
ask all the
just
open-ended questions and just keep them talking.
oh, the open-ended questions. That was a big thing I learned. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's definitely like yeah.
Yeah,
Yes
and
and
it
no
doesn't even
questions are not helpful.
and it doesn't even matter what the question is. You can just like ask them what was their favorite dream they had. Like
I like to ask guys what their favorite fetish or kink is, just to like put them in
hmm.
like a perspective, and then like go from there. And like sometimes they'll
Yes.
look at me and they'll be like, I don't know what that is, and I'm like, all right, it's gonna be one of those nights.
Oh.
So
Then you
funny.
get to teach them.
Yeah, it's like okay, so let's go to the VIP room and we're gonna have a
Let me show
conversation.
you some things.
Yeah,
Oh, so
it's
much
fun.
fun. So much fun. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today and sharing
Thank
yourself
you.
with our audience of listeners. It's been a wonderful time, and I'm
This is
so
awesome.
excited for our show. And make sure you
Yeah.
check out Kinky Summer Nights at Scores in Las Vegas every Thursday night. We'll be there.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
where can we find more of you on the internet?
Literally anywhere you can Google me. I have it set up that you can literally just type MS Stella Cloud into Google, and all of my links and handles pop up for all my different sites. I'm
Smart.
revamping everything right now and kind of clearing out all of my old content and starting a line of new stuff. So it'll be kind of empty for a minute, but my Instagram is my most used. That's the right word.
Hmm.
And then Twitter as well. Um,
Cool.
it's yeah. Or you can Google the bitch down the block. That pops up too.
I
That
love
is
that
my
immediately comes to you. That's
yeah.
amazing.
It's my brand name, and I'm working on getting it copyrighted and doing all of
Yes.
the branding and
Get
stuff.
it.
So yeah,
Get it. Yes.
it's next on the list. Thank you so much for this. Like this is honestly like just overwhelming but amazing.
Thank you. It's
Like I'm
been
so excited
awesome
for this
talking
show.
to you.
You too.
Thank you for listening. This has been a production with Period Podcast Network. You can follow us on Instagram at Period Podcast Network, also at Yes a Stripper Podcast. We are on Twitter at Yes a Stripper Pod. If you like what you heard today, please remember to subscribe or check out our sponsor, Xpol USA. Just follow the link below in the description or go to bit.ly/xpolyas.